When I was a child, I was once asked,
"What do you want to do with your life?"
I answered the question by saying I wanted to either be a principal or a clown. Seriously, a clown or a principal? What kind of kid wants to be either of those two professions? What I didn't know at the time, but I certainly know now, is that I wanted to be a teacher.
What?
A teacher.
What?
A teacher.
What?
Yeah, a teacher.
Oh.
Growing up, I didn't demonstrate an affinity for academics. It wasn't that I didn't know the answers, I didn't care about my grades. Just I never felt confident in my ability to succeed. In fact, it wasn't until I was in college that I truly started to show any academic prowess. After 2 years at Mount Sac and 3 at Cal Poly Pomona, I graduated Cal Poly with a bachelor's degree in liberal studies. While my time at Cal Poly was a great experience, I often found myself set apart from other people in my program. Simply put, I found most people who wanted to enter the profession of teaching did not share the same perspective as I did, and others simply had no aspirations to enter the field at all. While attending Cal Poly, I also started working at an elementary school. In fact, it was the same elementary school I attended as a child, Emmaus Lutheran. Emmaus has been a major part of my life. It taught me the foundations of my faith, provided me a family during the difficulties of my parents' divorce, and even gave me the opportunity to meet my future wife. My work at the school was in the after-school care program. During the 5 years working in daycare, it allowed me to not only find my voice, but to begin developing the roots of my craft. Between my time at Cal Poly and Emmaus, I feel like I developed a fairly decent starting point in my profession as a teacher. In fact, the staff at Emmaus believed in me enough to offer me a job post-graduation teaching 7th grade. During my first 2 years of teaching, I worked hard to grow and develop my overall skills as an educator. Learned a lot about teaching, but never had the formal training that I knew I needed. While attempting to find a program that would work with my now busy schedule, I just so happened to come across a flyer about Azusa Pacific University. The flyer promoted a program that was available to individuals already working in a classroom, but needed a credential. After some difficulties gaining the nerve to complete my application, I sent off the necessary paperwork and found myself sitting with Dr. Kaiser, interviewing about my future with Azusa Pacific. The first year at AP was important to me in a number of ways. First, entering grad school provided me the opportunities to realize more about myself than I had previously done before. My overall growth in curricular knowledge made me a much stronger educator, capable of dealing with any challenges that came my way. How I was able to handle my challenges? Take, for example, the work I had to do in my EDUC 526 Action Research Project. EDUC 526 required that I complete an action research project. For this project, I selected the ways in which my classroom was able to use and maintain the classroom library. Over the past several months, I've come to realize that my class was not appropriately using the classroom library. Oftentimes, I find myself picking up random books throughout the classroom with no real order of how students were selecting and checking out the books. I quickly went to the internet to do some research and found a solution to my problem. After looking over several message boards and reading what other educators did, I selected the following actions to implement in my classroom. First, the method in which I stock my library needs to change. Often the books I would find on my classroom floor were comics and newly added material to the library. Students were excited about reading new material. Oftentimes we forget how important it is to take care of new books and old books, thus resulting in a lack of consideration for putting items away. Due to the demand for certain books, specifically the newer ones, I recognized that I needed a book circulation time period. This meant that I would keep new books out of general circulation for about 3 months. Beyond creating a circulation period, I also took the time to sort and place them in an order based on category, genre, or theme. By organizing my library, it would help me take note of what books I have and what I would like to increase in my library. While a newly organized classroom library is a great asset to have, my overall goal of the Action Research Project was to find a way to limit the amount of time I spend cleaning up after my students' books. In order to keep a better eye on what my students are reading, I developed a new checkout system based on ideas pulled from my research. The new system required students to daily fill out a dry erase slate, noting what book they would like to check out or have brought from home. Students would then be able to keep the book to the end of the school day. If a student wanted to continue reading the book at home, they could do so with permission, or they could continue checking out that book for up to 1 week so as to allow others the opportunity to read the book. This meant students would no longer use an outdated note card system. This then provides much more accountability and monitoring of books that my students are reading. Furthermore, any student who has not returned their book before the end of the day will then not be allowed to check out new books for 1 school day. Upon actually implementing this project, I found a small decrease in the amount of time I spent picking up the books that my students left behind. While the time spent cleaning may not have been as significant as I would have liked, it did help me to recognize that a larger problem comes from the materials left behind, such as erasers, pencils, so on, instead of classroom books. This then allows me to begin researching a new method of classroom management to make this class much more productive and accountable. Furthermore, the overall project provided me a better understanding and involvement in my students' self-selected reading material. By providing accountability to both my students and I was able to take a problem, research it, find methods, and then set forth a solution for that issue. While it may not seem like a very significant challenge, Azusa Pacific ensured the fact that I would be able to take on any struggle that would come my way, even small ones like a classroom library. Granted, I recognize the knowledge previously mentioned came as a result of my second year at APU, but this is one example of how the school helped and provided me with a wealth of ways to take on challenges. Besides providing me with the knowledge needed for my credentialing process, APU also provided me the opportunity to meet and build relationships with my peers. Throughout my first year at APU, I found myself growing close to a number of fellow educators. The cornerstone of education begins with a relationship between the student and the teacher. However, no community exists with just two, and therefore it builds with the support that comes from all involved in the education process. The community of support that we built together at APU has been an incredibly valuable asset that I will not soon forget. While my first year at APU was a wonderful experience and certainly solidified my abilities as an educator, my true work and development came once I started the Digital Teaching and Learning Master's program. In my first few months at APU, I found myself in the Graduate Center trying to sort out some sort of financial aid situation. It was at this meeting that I came across a flyer advertising a master's degree in education technology. I recognized that I needed a degree that would not only provide me an enormous set of opportunities, but also needed a degree that would challenge me and make me want to do more. EDUC 512 completely indoctrinated me into the field of education technology. During this course, Professor Christy Hernandez introduced me to the notion of using a web quest. The process of the web quest is that it provides my students a guided lesson where they'll have an opportunity to work with various online tools of research. The end of the result of the web quest is a project where students not only share their knowledge, but also demonstrate their growth. Beyond WebQuest, the class focused on tools in Microsoft Office, Adobe Pro, and overall understanding of various online tools. Before entering the field of teaching, I dabbled with the notion of going into film. My love of film significantly helped me in Education 515. Professor Bill Selleck went over the foundation of how film is created and shot. During the course, I was expected to create instantly usable footage and establish ways I could use the film in the classroom. For the final project of the class, I was to make a short film. While Professor Selleck noted my unconventional way of establishing my objective, the overall process and result was a success. For the past several years of my life, I have been actively listening to a variety of podcasts. Professor Tim McKean, however, took my knowledge of digital broadcasting and put it into a new perspective. During this class, we spent time working not only on podcasts, but also using programs such as ManyCam, broadcasting live in Ustream, and presenting via Adobe Connect. What was incredibly significant about this entire process was the fact that Tim was not actually meeting with us face-to-face. During a class meeting, Tim was overseas attempting to adopt his first child. The entire experience was amazing because it showed that education simply requires a means of exposure. EDUC 522 was perhaps the most challenging class of the program. Professor Kordoff required that students work on the thematic unit, the basis for my curricular unit. While my initial attempt to create a thematic unit was to be centered on math, Professor Kordoff recognized that I was attempting to take an easy way out. Instead of math, Professor Kordoff insisted that I work with the unit that I expressed passion about, a thematic unit on the S.E. Hinton novel, The Outsiders. EDUC 526 completes my work in the Digital Teaching and Learning program. Under the instruction of Dr. Joanne Gilbreth, I have worked to create a VITA, research and implement an action research project, and prepare for graduation with the creation of a curricular guide. The focus of my curricular guide comes from the S.E. Hinton novel, The Outsiders. In this unit, students will have an opportunity to work with technology in order to demonstrate both their understanding of and response to the reading. To do this, students will use a variety of tools and assessments, utilizing all of the knowledge that I've learned throughout my time spent at APU. Students will use blogs to document their reading, writing, or responses with different methods of writing that may include poems, lyrics, or even character writing. Students will also take their writing and create podcasts to share their perspective and other information from the book. Furthermore, students will have an opportunity to work with a variety of online tools such as YouTube, WebQuest, and Flickr. The overall purpose of any lesson is to continue to assist students in their overall understanding of the book and then providing their response through a digital method. As students continue to build their various projects from the unit, they'll eventually house all these items in a Google Docs site so as to demonstrate their ability to take part in the digital era. One example of a lesson from my unit falls after the class has completed reading the entire book. During this lesson, students will make use of a wiki to document various characters and themes from the book. Working in community, the educator will demonstrate how important it is when building information. By providing the example of building through a wiki, the students will understand that many aspects of the classroom build knowledge. Each student will be responsible for a specific character, social group, or theme discussed from the book. The responsibility for each student is to write down examples from the book that provide information about the character, demonstrate characteristics from that individual, and further establish important quotes regarding the character, group, or the theme. To provide students with an understanding of how they're being created, I'll provide them with a rubric that details all the required elements for the wiki. Furthermore, the information gathered in the class wiki will help students prepare for a future test about the book, its characters, and its themes. Therefore, by preparing students for their test, with them generating information about the book, I can further assess their overall understanding of the material and determine how well they are achieving their goals set for the unit. To ensure that students are learning, I also make sure to incorporate the theories of Benjamin Bloom and Howard Gardner. By focusing on how students are mastering information, it provides me with an opportunity to ensure that my students are not simply reciting information, but using it to create new meaning. Furthermore, by providing my students with an opportunity to work in their area of expertise, I'm allowing that student to take equity in the class and potentially develop their overall understanding of the material. As the students finish the unit, they'll not only have the understanding of the characters, themes, and events discussed in The Outsiders, but they will also have an understanding of the importance of technology in their classroom and daily living. By connecting these 2 points of information, both literature and technology, the goal is to provide students with information that will not simply be used in a series of lessons, but will extend well beyond into high school, college, and their eventual career. As my time at APU draws to a close, I can't help but think about the numerous blessings that God has given me over the past 2 years. In 2 years' time, I've come to recognize my true potential and have worked to establish the educator that I want to be. I'm incredibly thankful to all the educators, professors, friends, and family who have supported me during my graduate work at APU. While I'm thankful for the knowledge I've gained in the past 2 years, I fully recognize that the greatest aspect of this time has been the growth that has come with my relationship with God. In every moment of joy and happiness that have come from the past 2 years, I fully recognize God being the center of those moments. On days where I felt stressed, tired, and frustrated, I know it was God who has guided me along so that I could arrive at this moment. I know that God has called me to serve as an educator. While I may not know what the future holds for me, I do know who holds the future. So as I leave APU, I feel thankful and optimistic because I know that it is God who has provided me the opportunity to learn and grow. Now it's my turn to go out and not only share what I've learned, but to demonstrate the lessons for others to benefit from.